Insightful. Joe Burrow talking about fossils. He was also on the receiving end of a nice compliment from Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. Take a listen.
Hey, other than our guy, you're the best in the business. I'm not saying that because you're saying listen, I appreciate you. Good luck.
I thought it was a nice moment.
It was a nice moment. It also echoes what Coach was saying yesterday. The problem is Steve Spagnuolo said that after week 2, and Coach said it after all of last season, which is where I think there might –
I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo would say it now.
I don't know that he would. So that's the
Really?
thing. That's the thing that, first of all, I think there is a chance that is exact – like if he is mic'd up after the AFC Championship game that he said that to Josh Allen. Sure. I certainly think there's a few quarterbacks he has maybe said that to. But at that moment in time, I was trying to think, did I agree with him? And I might have in the very first moments of last season when we were coming off, okay, the year before, Joe got hurt. You know, Joe got his elbow hurt and missed the last half of the year. We saw Lamar and Josh both in their building come up short against the Chiefs. And you're like, what I have said, maybe Burrow is the second best quarterback in football, because I know going into 2 years ago, that's what I thought. But then after last year, not because Burrow wasn't excellent, because he obviously had these unbelievable numbers, but more because of how impressive I thought what Josh Allen did was for a team that a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people thought was simply not talented enough to compete at a championship level. For him to win league MVP with those weapons around him, to do what he did, get his team in his second career conference championship game, do all of that, to me, that elevated him ahead of Joe. And so I've always been a Joe Burrow guy. Don't like the Bengals ownership and don't like some of their chitter-chatter players and fans. Really like Burrow. I just think Josh Allen at this point is a better player than him.
Yeah, but as we were discussing yesterday, if you looked at those three players, because we'll give Patrick the number 1 spot, clear number 1, and he looked at the other three.
Say that as often as you want.
Well, it's
Just
true.
for the sake of this story.
Although this morning on the show that I was on, someone
I know. That's why I said there's a lot of bulletin board stuff. I got to check the rules about putting breakfast ball members on the bulletin board.
Very
go
different
ahead.
feeling. Yeah. But if you polled GMs and head coaches about who they would draft from that group of 3 quarterbacks that we discussed yesterday, I would imagine it'd be pretty evenly split, depending on what you were looking for from your quarterback.
Between Joe, Josh, and Lamar.
Yeah, and there's things that Josh can do that Lamar can't do, and each one of those guys has different strengths. So it depends on what you're looking for, philosophically, how you want to build your offense. And obviously, Joe doesn't have the mobility that those 2 guys have, and you've got the injury situation, which is a consistent knockdown for him. But Lamar went through that to some degree not too long ago as well. But it's a lot closer than I think you feel it is.
Yeah, I have no problem with what Spag said, assuming he hasn't said it to Lamar and Josh Allen as well, which might be possible, because it's arguable. Like, obviously, I've been riding with Lamar, and I think I'm going to ride with him this year, upcoming. But it is arguable who is the best of those 3. Now, Lamar and Josh have the hardware. They got the 3 MVPs combined. Burrow obviously doesn't. But what Burrow has, and this is maybe why Spag said it, he's got a playoff victory over Mahomes. Lamar's 0-1 against Mahomes in the playoffs. Josh obviously 0-4. And Burrow, and even in the regular season, I mean, they played the Chiefs tougher. I know Buffalo's beaten them.
No,
but
the regular season, just in my opinion, has been more about the now fired defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo really giving Mahomes fits more than any other team than Burrow.
Well, he doesn't light him on fire, but he plays. He's played well. Like I just think because he's the only of the 3, he's the only one that's been to the Super Bowl. I agree with Coach in that he's in a lesser organization, but, Coach, he does have more weapons. He's got Jamar Chase. He's got the best weapons
by far
of the 3. So that's, something benefits him. But I just think it's arguable, and to me, he is giving the Chiefs, and I even think next year maybe, like they give the Chiefs problems in regular season or the playoffs. So I can see why Spagnuolo would say that.
Go ahead, KW.
You saw my paper. You spotted. I saw.
There's a picture on
it. The guy is giving a take, and at the same time staring at my paper.
No, you're giving.
To cheat.
I'm not
cheat
trying
off
to
my
cheat.
takes.
You're just gonna turn
Well,
this car.
we're just leaving somebody out. You're like, remember that time he played Mahomes tough?
Second best?
Go ahead. Let
Second
Miles
best
make his
quarterback
case.
in the league?
Hold on. Let
Well, I don't know. What was the last football game you saw? What was the last game you saw?
It's a team sport.
It is a team sport. Here's how Jalen Hurts does against Steve Spagnuolo. Jalen Hurts, the story is always Burrow Mahomes or Josh Allen Mahomes. I just think it needs to be Hurts Mahomes. And we're going to see it again in week 2. Jalen Hurts doesn't squeak out victories here. He puts up big numbers. His passer rating's great. Mahomes does, last game wasn't great. But, over the course of 4 games. So the question, I don't want to make
I'm actually amazed Mahomes' passer rating's that high, given the fact that this last Super Bowl is a quarter of it. You know what I mean?
The last 3 minutes.
I understand.
It's 16 unanswered.
You're such a bad guy.
Yeah,
So
you
go
said
ahead.
that on the T for him. You said that on the T for him.
But the question, I didn't want to make it a full Jalen Hurts thing because I do want to keep it about Burrow for the sake of the conversation. This did give me pause, Coach, because we all watch the games, but as a defensive coordinator, are there things that Steve Spagnuolo or you see in Joe Burrow where it's like, man, we had that set up perfectly and he beat us?
Well,
even
exactly
if
what he was talking
Jalen
about
Hurts is
yesterday.
winning games, that you say, well, Joe Burrow's actually better. I don't know. Tell me what you think.
One of the things, a thing with Josh Allen and with Lamar is you need to be so sound with the defensive front. So you've got to have discipline with your rush lanes. You got to try to keep those 2 guys in the pocket because they can hurt you so badly with their feet. But that's a big answer for both those guys consistently, where Joe Burrow is not going to hurt you with his feet anywhere near what those guys can do, but he can pick you apart with his arm. And to me, that's the distinction. He's better in that area than the other 2 guys are, and the other 2 guys get elevated because when the front breaks down, that's where they can do
listen, Coach is always going to be more football scared of a guy who scares you in 3rd and long than anything else.
It's not about 3rd and long. It's about when you're in a good coverage and you're sound across the board, and that player who's in the pocket can find the open receiver and place the ball in a great situation, regardless whether it's 3rd down, red zone, 2-minute, where the other guys, it's not anywhere near that level of consistency, but they can ding you if a defensive lineman gets out of his gap.
Can I say something else about Burrow real quick? Mm-hmm. Because I do think there is a comp for the trajectory with which his career is on. And this is not an insult because this guy is a Hall of Famer on a lot of top 10, certainly top 15 all-time quarterbacks list. But it is Drew Brees, who went to now Brees got his Super Bowl, his 3rd or 4th year in New Orleans, so he didn't have to worry about the not being able to get over the hump. But he won multiple Offensive Player of the Year awards. He won one when they were below 500. I think Burrow, either won it last year or came close to winning it. Went to an organization, didn't have a lot of a great history. Every year, the passing numbers were outrageous. Multiple 5,000-yard seasons. Led the league in touchdown passes. Yet, despite all that, because the teams were not as consistently successful, at any point in his career, I don't even know if he was roundly considered the 2nd best quarterback in football. Because it was Brady and Manning, and this is also a Tom Brady compliment.
I agree with that.
It was Brady and Manning, then it was Brady and Rodgers, then it was Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers. Yeah. You know what I mean? For Brees
I don't think Brees wows you like Burrow, though.
I feel like they're very incredibly accurate, precision. Neither has the strongest arm. Neither is this great wow athlete. Obviously, Joe's bigger than him. And and where Brees could have won more if those defenses were not terrible. And could have won more if maybe that was a better franchise. And so it's not an insult, but that it feels like it's a similar path.
And look, I don't love the Bengals' philosophy of paying wide receivers what they're paying them when you've got a quarterback of that stature who can elevate the players around him. To me, if anything, you should be pushing that money in other places and try to win collectively.
T. Higgins could go to, I don't know, Patriots. Just pick any team out of the air.